it's not always about the dollar figure you're chasing. It's the person you become on the journey to the end destination.
What would the future wealthy version of me do? And then you create the habits, and then you can build out a roadmap.
They taught us the game, and that's why we're bringing it back and teaching you what we've learned.
Do hard things, have an easy life. Do easy things, have a hard life.
Once you get to that 100K, it just lightning speed when it goes to the next. Then when you get to 200 and 300, it's just insane how money just multiplies by just having it sitting in the market.
I have not upgraded my lifestyle. It's extremely low for where I see myself in my life, but it's allowing me to go buy more real estate to eventually trade up to that dream home.
Spend the monthly cash that it would cost to lease a Lamborghini. I could do that right now. That's my dream car, but it's just a waste of money at this current moment.
Becoming a millionaire, you're saying no to a lot more things than you're saying yes to.
Welcome back to the Wealth Juice podcast. As always, it's your boys Ryan and Corey here with another episode. Today, it's just going to be Corey and I, and we are going to talk about the millionaire habits that you need to weave into your life to become a millionaire. I think what we've learned over the years is it's not always about the dollar figure you're chasing. It's the person you become on the journey to the end destination. And for us, we were always chasing, we want to become a millionaire, right? And I think a lot of people that study the game of financial independence and try to build generational wealth, you kind of forget about the mindset behind things and what it takes to actually get there on a daily basis. So today we're going to go through and kind of synthesize all the information we learned from all of our interviews over the last couple of years. And it won't be dialed into a point where you're going to be overwhelmed. We're trying to make this almost like a checklist and things that will resonate with you that you can weave into your life in order to reach a level of success. And it's basically habits that we have dialed into our lives after learning from hundreds of millionaires, real estate investors, entrepreneurs, business owners. And so we'll take you through them and just kind of reframe the way you think. And hopefully the goal here is for you to write these down and start taking action and weave these into your life to hold yourself accountable and really have daily actionable things you can do to get to the next level.
I think making it your identity a little bit too, even before you have it, is one of the things that millionaires or future millionaires have already done. Like they kind of act like they've got it already. Now, I think there's a defining line and a distinction between like, hey, if you're not ready to own a Mercedes or a McLaren or a Lamborghini, I'm not suggesting you go and buy that first and act like it, but you would say to yourself, what are the habits of the future millionaire myself? What would they do today to prepare themselves or to be there? So before you spend the money, would you ask, the thing you need to ask yourself is like, what would the future wealthy version of me do? And then you create the habits, and then you can build out a roadmap so that you're like, okay, well, do I have a plan for each dollar that comes in? And that's my first thought, which kind of leads into the next thing about getting obsessed with tracking it. But maybe if you want to talk about the identity aspect first before we get there, I think tracking is, and I can talk about how we actually do that, but tracking your personal finances is paramount. You know?
Yeah, the idea is to put yourself in the driver's seat of future you here with this episode, right? So what are the habits that you are going to need to take and weave into your life in order to get to that level? But we want this to be viewed at the lens of future you reaching down with the hand and pulling you up to that level, right? So you have to live in that moment, and basically what would you need to do on a daily basis to get there and live out that life, right? So every decision that you take, don't think about it in terms of today's lens. Like how would future you make that decision? And then you're going to morph into that future you. And it's really a mindset shift. But for example, like what would you be spending your time doing? Who would you be surrounding yourself with? What would you be spending your money on? And all these things, it'll really reshape kind of how you think. And we're going to will you to get to the next stage here. So yeah. Obviously we're going to start with getting obsessed with tracking. And I say obviously because if you don't know your numbers, you're out of line, you're misaligned. You need to get your financial house in order to be able to take leaps to scale that. And so really what we do is we think about this on the front with our personal finances, but this can be dialed into every aspect of your life. But there's tools like Monarch, Personal Capital, and even Google Sheets to write down where the money's coming in every month and where's it going. You need to know your income, you need to know your expenses, and you need to know your fixed expenses too, right? Those are things outside of lifestyle that are just, hey, every single month, like a car note, specific bills like your mortgage, that those are fixed. They're every month, you know they're coming. And then on top of that, you have the lifestyle bills, which are things like well, I know you need to eat, but it probably fluctuates on a monthly basis. Then also, are you spending money on trips? Are you spending money on clothing? You're going to entertainment. There's a lot of different things, but putting this on a balance sheet for yourself is super impactful. And I think a lot of people stray away from this and don't do this because they think it's a lot of manual work. A tool like Monarch, something Corey can touch on a little bit, but he uses this on a daily basis. It just integrates your whole financial picture. You can add your debit cards, add your credit cards. You can add the properties you own. You can add any income and expenses. So basically you have a budgeting tool, but then also a net worth tool all baked into one. And I don't think it's too expensive on a monthly basis. That way you don't have to use spreadsheets and you can track. So every day or every week, hey, these are my numbers. This is where I'm currently at. And I know I need to make more money to be able to offset some of these expenses or cut out some of these expenses to have more income coming in.
Monarch is my favorite. It's probably, I think it comes out to be like $10 a month or even less. And you can pay on the annual basis. I think it's even less than that. But to me, there's people like Grant Cardone and Alex Hormozy out there that say they check their bank accounts or their apps every single day. So here's the thing, and I feel like I want people to hear this. It's like, do hard things, have an easy life. Do easy things, have a hard life. And I've heard that numerous times. So is it easy to get up and track your finances and look at things every single day and keep it organized? No, but it's the easy thing to do is to just put it in the back of your head and forget about it, or outside of your head and forget about it. But it's going to make things harder come the future. So Monarch is, to me, it's incredible. I think, I look at it probably 3 times a week where I'm like, okay, where's my money going? Like, how can I get better with this particular thing? How can I spend less here? So I know at the end of each month what I have left over to dump into specific investments. Like, what percent of my income am I consistently keeping? That's how I can track my future. And maybe you want to put more money into the stock market this month, or maybe you want to, over the next 6 months, you want to save up a better emergency fund, or maybe over the next 12 months, you're saving up for that next rental property or that next short-term rental or whatever it may be. But if you don't know where you stand currently or where your money is going currently, there's literally no way to get there. So Monarch's amazing. That's the one that I use. It was Mint. Mint was free. I guess something happened with Mint. It went away. So that we use Monarch.
Yep. So we talked about 2. The first one's making wealth your default identity, right? You're living in the future as future you, the wealthy version of you, right? And number 2 is getting obsessed with tracking. Know your numbers. We'll say this over and over and again. You need to know your numbers. You can't guess on a monthly basis. You need to know these. And after that, it's paying yourself first, always. Millionaires treat savings like rent. And this is non-negotiable. Like, if you're renting right now, it's coming in, you have to, in order to be able to stay at this home that you're living in, you need to be able to pay your rent. So with this, we treat this exactly like that situation. And we say, hey, we're paying ourselves first, no matter what. So auto transfer a set percentage of your pay, your monthly pay, into an investment account the moment your paycheck hits. And to automate this, and this will be another kind of facet we go into, but really making this an automatic thing on a monthly basis. So you have no decision. Figure out your income, your expenses, what you have left over, and then a percentage of that based on your risk is what you need to be dumping either into an account to be saving for real estate, or into whether it's your brokerage account, your 401k, but for future you. You are putting some time, energy, and effort to think about future you. And then once you have the system set up, now you're just focused on baking in and making as much income as you possibly can to funnel it into all of these pre-identified investing accounts. So that way you don't even have to think about it. Anytime a check comes in or any income comes in, it's automatically getting dispersed to your investments. And that's one thing, is like learning to pay yourself first before it goes out to any lifestyle expenses. We're saying paying future you first, not paying current you first.
Yeah. And dude, paying yourself first is like, you'd be shocked. I mean, truly shocked if you just say, hey, $300, $400, $500 a month, I'm going to put it at the first of the month. It's going to auto debit into my Fidelity account, for example. You would adjust your lifestyle to not needing that $300, $400, $500 a month. And this is a beginner stage to do that, but you would adjust your lifestyle. I mean, even, I gave the recommendation to my fiance to do this, and she's not like huge on finances, but I was like, hey, just put $250 a month every single month. And she's adjusted, and she doesn't even know where it goes because I set it up for her, but she's like, it's out and it's invested. It's like her brokerage account. So her lifestyle has adjusted, and now we're doing life together. So it's going to be even easier because I can help her even more. So that type of thing where you build a system where it exits and I go into a different account and it's out of sight, out of mind. Now that's more for the automated investments like ETFs and stuff, and going to your retirement account or your IRA. but your future self is going to thank you. And all the real estate investors I talk with, I have a good friend in Tampa, Florida. We talk about this all the time. He's like, yeah, I just auto some money into into ETFs. Just because we're real estate investors doesn't mean that we don't invest in those other things. But real estate is like the vehicle, like 80% of my net worth is in real estate. So that's the vehicle that I'm really turning up the engine. I'm like, okay, we're going here. This is the fast money. And then the slow money on the back end is the ETF. So, or the taxable brokerage. And I have a SEP IRA because it's self-directed, because I'm not employed except by myself. So
Yeah.
that's just an idea for people. And use your 401k, take the match. We've talked about this in previous episodes, but we're making it more geared towards like specifically what to do. And in the next segment, I can talk about specific ETFs that I like, if that's helpful for people. I mean, just, we're not financial planners, but happy to share.
Yeah, I don't know that we need to go too deep into that. I think there's so many different things out there now, but I want to talk about just overall, people should be investing in index funds, right? Just collect the basket of funds. There's a bunch of those out there that track the market. I mean, a couple, if we want to touch on them, we could do VTI, VOO, VUG, VGT, and those are some of the tech ones, the S&P. There's a few more out there, but I think on these, the building your money stacking system is, after paying yourself first, this is what we want to get into, like using the weekly auto investments. You can go down to daily auto investments, by the way, even if it's a smaller portion. Like, for example, Corey said $300 a month. You could drill that down to a daily investment. Just divide that $300 by 30 days.
Maybe $10 a day.
If that's $10 a day. But that allows you to dollar cost average, meaning whether the stock goes up or down every single day you're in the market, no matter what. So you don't miss any of the high days. You don't miss any of the low days. You get to take advantage of everything. And I think that's just another strategic way I've learned over time. People aren't just doing the weekly or the monthly. They drill it down to the daily because they don't want to miss any time, because they can't track it. They don't have time for it. So just things that I've done. We talked about a couple of wealth building vehicles, but the traditional 401k, the retirement account, right? That's one. You typically want to max that out with your W-2 job. And then if your employer has a match, that's something to take advantage of too. Then you have the Roth IRA, which is your individual retirement account, and you can max that out. I believe it's either it's 7,000 or 7,500 as of 2025, because it's such an amazing tax advantaged account. And after you graduate from that, it's a taxable brokerage account, where that's the essentially the traditional investing account that many people think about when they're saying, oh, do you invest in Tesla? Do you invest in Amazon? Do you have these index funds? That's where you can kind of play with it yourself and on a daily basis start playing around in that field. I really like those. And then after that, typically people are like, what's the next thing? And logically, there's a couple of things you can pick in today's world, but logically it's investment properties. And that's where people get in thinking about real estate, and they think about all the different strategies, whether it's long-term rentals, Airbnbs, midterm rentals, syndications, but also there's cryptocurrency, and that's taking over the globe in certain ways too. And I think there's a way to weave in both real estate and crypto in a way without kind of like over leveraging and putting a small portion of your money into it. So that way you have diversification overall, but you're not throwing darts and guessing, right? Study these, figure out what you want to invest in, and then bake it down to paying yourself first always. And then using the money stacking system of auto investing. Once you know the amount that you can afford to put into these things, just divide them out and set it automatically. So they're automatically withdrawn as soon as the check hits your account. And I'm telling you, time will go by. Time flies, as we all know. And you'll look into your account after a year and you'll be shocked the amount you have. And then that money compounds over time, right? So at the end of every year, you're just continually dumping new money in on top of the money that's already getting invested, compound interest and all of these things that we won't get into a masterclass here, but I do want you to really heavily consider this. Figure out what you want to put within those accounts and take advantage of that auto investing so you can shut the light bulb off in your head and just focus on, how do I get more skills and hone on my skill sets and make more income so I can dump it into those buckets and start playing the game even further?
And the thing that we do, one of the things, and REI is more heavily invested into the market than I am in terms of the stocks. That's partially because he's still taking advantage of a match of 401k and everything too. But like, if just as a baseline goal, if you can get $100,000 invested into the market by the time you're at the age of 35, $100,000, if you don't touch it, if you do nothing with it, zero things, you add zero more dollars, you'll have $1 million by the time you're 65, based on like, I think that's like 9, maybe 10, 8 to 10% of not appreciation of interest each year, compounding. So that to me is like a baseline. Would you want an extra $1 million? Figure out whatever you can do to get $100,000. That to me, that's not like our ultimate goal. Obviously, just to have $1 million because in 30 years, $1 million is going to be less than it is now. But having an extra $1 million wouldn't hurt. So my goal here is I'm 33, I already have it, but 100,000, or just about there actually, $100,000 in the market, just because, and I'm going to keep contributing to it. But that is like, that's an idea for people as like, hey, what's a baseline? What should I get to? So if you can do that by the time you're age of 35, and again, I'm not heavily invested into the stock market like other people are because of the real estate stuff, but I think there's a good way to diversify without over leveraging yourself.
Yeah, I agree. The first baseline, I've been in the market for a long time, and so it's just stacked. And once you get to that 100K, it just lightning speed when it goes to next. Then when you get to 200 and 300, it's just insane how money just multiplies by just having it sitting in the market. And it's an interesting thing. It's just then it goes into how can you take advantage of the tax advantage of accounts even more. And so they play more into it. We just do your research, but our point here is having your money sitting in the market is a good thing working for you. But then also you need active income to be able to play around in real estate, because there's 7 more hidden benefits of real estate investing outside of just the stock market. And I think that's where people get curious and they're like, okay, I'm doing the stock thing. It's taking a while to stack up to this 100K. What else can I be doing? And so that's where real estate comes in.
Yeah, I just to give people an idea, like I've taken multiple times. I've taken $50,000 of stock out to buy real estate. So it's all about I would have a lot more in stock if I just left it in there. But I think that money has multiplied even more in the real estate game. So that's why I like that baseline of 100. Get there and then don't touch that money, and then you can use. If you don't want to invest anymore in the market, fine, then you can use it more for real estate. But the next thing here we want to talk about is making sure that you're like. Discipline in any aspect of your life is going to be key. Like if you want to get fit, you have to go to the gym consistently. You can't do all the exercises in one day a week. You just can't do it. So, for me, it's like I'm doing 15,000 steps a day. I'm in the gym 4 days a week. I'm creating habits with my eating habits, right? But it's the same thing with your finances. So discipline equals freedom. Like if becoming a millionaire, you're saying no to a lot more things than you're saying yes to. And I think that is something that people need to ingrain. It's not about and we've been victims of shiny object syndrome with many things, but now we're at a point where we know exactly what we want to say no to. So like writing out a list of your spending habits that you're cutting and just saying, hey, I know these are my fixed expenses for the month. These are my variable expenses. I'm not spending $1 more than this. And maybe on some months, if you work commission, you're like, hey, I'll go on a vacation. Like, great, I want to enjoy my life. Or great, I'll go out to dinner 5 times more this month if I have a good month, right? But you have to create a discipline around, hey, if I get to this dollar, my investments are automated, so I know I'm putting money aside. I'm just not going to spend any more money than this. And the more that you can create the discipline around yourself, I talk to too many people that are like, oh, I don't know where all my money's going. Well, you're not tracking it. And if you're not tracking it, then how would you possibly know where it's going? It's going to Amazon. It's going to this. It's going to that. So creating a no list. I'm not doing this. I will do this. Staying disciplined. That's the key.
It goes into every aspect of your life. Millionaires say no way more times than they say yes, and they protect their time, they defend it, and then they protect their disciplines. And it's just protecting the dollars that come in, right? You want those dollars that are come in, you want to send those back out into the world, and they act like the front line of an army for you, right? And they go to work and they make more money for you. So you have to protect that coming in. It's so easy to get your cash drained away from Uber Eats, Amazon, those things like Netflix, all these things that come in, they add up and you don't think about it, or you just say, yes, yeah, I'll go out this weekend, even when you shouldn't be going to that specific spot and spending that money. I know you want to live your life. There's a happy balance here. So just keep in mind, millionaires say no way more than they say yes, and they protect what they've built. And then the next thing I want to talk about is running your life like a lean business, right? So it's very interesting, but wealthy people manage their life with lean margins. And I mean by that is like, if you think about the going out to eat and spending a ton of money and throwing the card down. It's actually very interesting that what we found over time is all of these people that we've been surrounding ourselves with, even the ones that have reached the pinnacle, they're always checking the numbers and making sure it makes sense. They're not just going to go spend a boatload of cash for whatever reason. They want to get the best deal. They want to actually see things through and make sure they're getting the best bang for their buck. And it's so interesting. I never thought when you get to this level, I thought you just, hey, charge the card, but they're living out these healthy habits they've had over time. And that's able to let them kind of flourish in every single aspect of their life.
I will say it gets easy. That does get easier, right? And now Ryan and I started this new business venture in 2025, right? So I've only been I'm in entrepreneur mode. So I'm like being more careful with it now, but it does get easier in the sense that it's like, you can't save your way to freedom, period. You cannot save your way to freedom. That you should focus on creating a baseline of how much I'm going to spend and maybe give yourself an extra little buffer too. Like you don't have to be like making your own soap and shit like that. Like hey, this is how much I'm going to spend, create a buffer. And then the more important thing that you should be focusing on is increasing your skill set to create more income, because there's an infinite upside to your income. And the downside is you can only go so low on the savings. So I mean, and dude, just as an example, like my mortgage payment is extremely low right now. Like I have not upgraded my lifestyle. It's extremely low for where I see myself in my life, but it's allowing me to go buy more real estate to eventually trade up to that dream home. And my dream home is probably not going to be like, hey, I take this property, my first starter home, and then I buy a mid-size, and then I buy a bigger one, and then I buy a dream home. I'm not going to monopoly like that. I'm going to go from having the small starter home, buying all this other real estate, and maybe only having to sell off one of those properties to get a really, really beautiful dream home and go right to that 10th level that I want to go to. So that is the key there, running it like a lean business, like we're saying, but then also increasing your income on the upside, not saying, oh, I got to save my way to freedom. It's impossible. You cannot save your way to financial freedom.
Yes, I couldn't agree with that more. The next one is I really want to hone in on is delayed gratification. So living in delay and like pushing off things that you can afford right now, you potentially have the money to do so, but not spending too early and wasting the cash that you could potentially dump into other investments to set yourself up for the future. I'll give you a prime example. I have my car paid off, right? I could easily go. We just rented a Tesla Model Y Performance twice, actually. Once when I saw my family, and then once when I went down to Tampa with Corey. And it's unbelievable, smooth ride. I've outweighed the pros, have outweighed the cons. I'm like, dude, I just need to go get this thing. I found one for like 40 grand, and or a little bit less than that, and I could immediately go buy this tomorrow. However, my current car is already paid off, and the dollars that I would go spend, that 40 grand that I would go spend on the Tesla, just because it drives nice, it's the new flashy shiny thing. Why would I go do that now when that 40 grand I could potentially triple it over the next X amount of period of time, because I've heightened my skill sets. I know how to invest now. I have business opportunities that come available. We can pump more money into this business to get a better ROI. So my point is, I know other people are out there doing the same thing, and they're just, it's very easy to say, yes, let me just go get this next thing because I want it. It sounds sexy and it'll give me that gratification right now, but in the future, it'll really hurt. Once again, for the bigger dogs in the room, right? There's people that can easily go spend the monthly cash that it would cost to lease a Lamborghini. I could do that right now. That's my dream car, but it's just a waste of money at this current moment to have that. I want that when I can pay that thing in cash and be done with it and not even worry about it. So there's just examples and levels to this game. And I've learned this over time because Corey and I both have done this. He bought the Mercedes. I bought a Mercedes. I also bought a Challenger that looked like the Batmobile. And like we spent 30, 40, and we spent all our dough. And it's like, and this was before we even got into real estate.
When we were like 25 too, or 24 even. We did it like right out of school, right?
100%. And it was one of those things where it's funny, you become a product of your environment, which we'll get into, but Corey and I both like sold each other into doing this. Like I saw he did. I'm like, dude, I'm doing that. That thing looks great. And you feel so cool. It's great, but it doesn't last as long as you think. And then you're holding yourself back from being able to do the other things. And that's what we realized. So really had to do a mindset shift. We read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it really just it blew our minds and changed our world. And so instead of putting our own money in liabilities that make us feel good right now, it's like delaying this gratification, buying income producing assets. So that way future you can have a very, very nice life. And it's about the freedoms. We've realized, hey, it's not all about having these nice things that you have to continually show up to work for, right? To pay them off. It's giving yourself the freedom to have control of where you work, who you surround yourself with, being able to say no to certain things and not having to answer to anyone. And that's so important. And it took us a longer time than we probably would have liked to realize this, but I've lived and I learned. I just wanted to give you the Tesla example and the Lamborghini example. It's like those things will come. I don't need them now, and I can set myself up and my family up for a better future. So really focus on that. And then outside of delayed gratification, another thing we realized going through our life journey and working is you really need to, or what we'd recommend for people that are going through the journey of the 9-to-5 world, if you can get a job with commission and something in potentially sales or something that has a baked in bonus structure or commission structure, that's going to allow you to increase your income and take things to a whole nother level, right? That 50 to 100 grand of just base salary, that's good to be able to track things, right? And you're like, okay, I know here's my fixed income coming in. I know what I have money coming in every month. I know what I can set aside. But if you can put a little extra effort and make, another 50 grand on top of that, then you have way more room to play around and invest in other things and take chances and take risks. And so we are so thankful that we started in sales and we had that, hey, we were like headhunter mentality, go after it, you eat what you kill. And then we were able to shorten our time horizon to get to that retirement level and get our $100,000 accounts way faster than other people, and just all that extra cash, instead of living off it, buying the new cars and taking the vacations, just dumping that into the investing, right? And in other ways, and obviously we've done cool trips and things like that. I'm not saying you have to live a boring life and not enjoy the fruits of your labor. But if you start from the beginning of this episode and all those habits that I talked about before you get here, all that extra cash that you bringing in, it's going to go into the right spots now.
Yeah, so that's number 9, the commission, making commission your best friend, just to number this. But right, I think what you said is really important. It's like, we're not saying not to take vacations. We're not saying not to go enjoy your life. What we're saying is to give it a little bit of a plan and not just say, hey, oh, because I feel like it, I'm going to go put this vacation on a credit card, or because I feel like I deserve it, that I'm going to go, go into debt for this X, Y, and Z thing. And my fiance is now planning a wedding right now. We're doing it very strategically. Like, I want to have an amazing day. Like, I want to have an incredible day that we remember for the rest of our lives, right? But we're doing it in a way that's like, hey, am I going to go spend, and we're paying for the wedding, by the way. So it's like, am I going to go spend X amount doing X thing? No, we're going to be strategic about it. Maybe we're doing it in a couple months after we actually want to do it. We're putting a plan together to like save up for it. So, planning out these things are extremely important. And Ryan and I are guys that want to enjoy our lives. Like, we're not like sticking our head in the sand and saying we're not going to start enjoying them till we're 45 years old. We want to enjoy this stuff now. Which leads me to my next thing is number 10 is making money dates with yourself. So the wealth game is growing when you give it the attention, right? So for example, and this can be weekly, this can be monthly, you can do it however you'd like, but set it, like, for me, I don't know if I do this every Sunday. I'm not like 100% disciplined, but like what I do every Sunday is I look at my schedule for the week. So every Monday morning, I'm kind of looking at, okay, 30 minutes to review the spending. I typically track it on a monthly basis. Like, I am looking at my Monarch a couple of times a week, but I'm really looking at, okay, I'm projecting, I know how much money I'm going to spend each month. And because of the way our business fluctuates with rent coming in and new projects and our mentorship program, I have to project out how much money we're going to bring in that month at the beginning of every month. So I know, okay, each sale we have or each new thing we have, this is how much that I'm going to be able to slide towards these certain things and be able to live off of. So if you make a money date with yourself, maybe it's once a week, every Sunday, track your spending, track your net worth, reset your goals. And I'm looking at my Monarch account right now, and I just looked over the last 1 month and my net worth went up by $22,000 in the last month. How about that? Like, that's cool to see, like, just to be like, oh, this is where it was. This is where it is. And based on some of the decisions we've made. And that's, so the further along you get with that, the more it compounds, and then it kind of works for yourself. So that starts with, hey, if it's you and a spouse, if it's just you and yourself, making a money date. But here's the thing, you getting your spouse on board with it is massive. I have a lot of conversations with people that say, oh, my wife or oh, my husband, they wouldn't let me do this. Or my girlfriend or my fiance, they wouldn't let me do this. It's like, if you can go further together and you can kind of pitch this life of financial freedom together and you can optimize it and do it on track, you're going to get there so much faster as opposed to fighting against each other. I'm not a relationship coach. I'm not trying to tell you who to date, who to marry. I'm just saying the more you do together, the further you can go.
100%. And I couldn't agree with you more. And I think you can, it's almost like quid pro quo in a way. Like, if they're not on board, you need to show them the examples and the benefits of why this makes sense. And just to give you an example of my life, I talked about this years ago, but my wife and I was trying to get her on board with investing in real estate. And obviously, because we're both working at the time and income's coming in, it's her money too, right? And I had to make this make sense for our future. And she's a big reader. And I was like, how can I do this to make her buy in? And so what I did was I said, hey, let's trade books. You're always reading. I'll read one of your books if you read one of my books. All my books are how to self-help or like investing oriented, and very probably dry for her. But we did a little trade. I read Christmas on Nantucket, and she had to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And so it was one of those trade-offs where she understood it, even though maybe she was still not fully all the way bought in. She's like, okay, this is how my husband thinks now. This is what he wants to do. It's for us. And it's revamping and reframing the game of life. And I'm on board with it. And so, the goal here is to make sure that she's protected. She can live out every dream that she has, but also there's got to be a system baked in to do this. And we have to do it differently than potentially her friends are doing it. Right. So that's what we put in. And it kind of leads me also to like the next level, right? It's like, number 11 here is protecting your environment. And so what I mean by that is your circle is your future, and who you surround yourself with. There's a quote, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So you want to surround yourself with ambitious, financially literate people who challenge you to level up, and those people that are doing what you want to do at a high level. So for Corey and I, just a prime example of starting the podcast, it's like, how do we get into the room of real estate investors? We want to become proficient real estate investors, build a ton of wealth, be around millionaires. it was the start of the podcast. The world shut down in 2020. Corey approached me. He's like, dude, I have a couple of units. Let's start a podcast about real estate. I was reluctant at first because I didn't think anyone would want to hear our story. And his approach was like, dude, people will like to come along the journey with us. It's not going to be like the bigger conglomerate podcasts where it's about 1,000 units. Let's showcase our journey now, what we're learning. And one thing led to another. We started interviewing all of these super successful real estate investors and millionaires and people that had done it at a high clip. That was our way of organically networking. They taught us the game. And that's why we're bringing it back and teaching you what we've learned. And so we got around the right people. Now you have certain skill sets. You have things that you can bring to other people. So getting around those people, build your tribe of millionaires, get around the people. It doesn't have to be real estate, right? Like whatever you're interested in, get around them. Another example, there's, I wanted to beef up my financial picture in the last year. We had a gentleman on the podcast, Robert Croak. He's super dialed in with financial independence. He's the founder of Silly Bins. He's a Deca millionaire. He started a podcast called Rich Habits. And so I joined his network. I rubbing shoulders with this guy. And I booked a few calls with him and just had him help me tweak things on a certain financial aspect on my background. And so we've become friends over this, right? Because he saw value in us on the podcast. I saw value in him. I paid him for his time. But my point is, you get around these high-level players and you realize they just played the game better than you. And so if you can learn their habits, i.e. this like Rich Habits or Millionaire Habits podcast episode, you're going to get brought up to that level. And it's just adopting this. And if you're around the people that are just going out in the weekend, spending their money on the new thing and just not building that future life, then that's going to be you. So that's important to protect it. And also just protect, when I say your environment, protect what comes on in between the ears too. What you're looking at on social media, what you're listening to for podcasts, what you are reading on your books. It's all shaping the way you think and then eventually the way you act. So we've scrubbed our Instagram accounts. We now follow only people that are building businesses, investing in real estate and chasing that financial freedom because that's who we aspire to be like. And then the meme pages are on the side. We're not like, if we're scrolling, it's information. And it's like, how do we level ourselves up? Podcast, same thing. We're spending an hour driving to work every day as we're going through this journey, listening to Audible, listening to podcasts, all about how to better our life, how to get better as a husband, a father, basically a personal finance master, if you will, real estate investor, all these things. Like what you consume is what you become, is what I want to say.
And you notice you have certain people in your life that you can have certain conversations with. Like there's certain people that you would talk about money and business and growth. And then there's other people that you wouldn't. And that doesn't mean they're any less friends or anything like that. And you can keep people in the categories. And some of my best friends, I don't talk about money and business and finance with, and that's totally fine. But I'm protecting my environment in the times that I really want to focus on those things. And I think that is major. It's not necessarily like you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, which is true, but you're also the average of the 5 people that you compare yourself to the most. So make sure that you're talking to those people and you're leveling up your game in multiple ways.
So the next thing I want to talk about is gamifying the journey and making this thing fun. So progress should feel exciting, not restrictive, right? And you want to actually enjoy the journey and not feel like you're always just chasing for the future, the next mountain peak. So whether you want to start a save 5K in 100 days challenge or try a no spend week, like these little tiny things that you can do, challenge yourself to do them and then reward yourself when you get there. So it's gamifying the journey. Also setting something in the future, right? Like Corey and I, when we were like, okay, when we first hit our third, and as a business, if we hit our first 30K month, we're going to go take a trip, right? We're going to go down, whether it's Tampa or whether it's going to be Mexico, we're going to go take a trip together and enjoy it in the nice weather. And then it can be a business trip and a leisure trip. We'll bring our ladies and all this, but we set these things, then we go do them because you need to celebrate how far you've come. And if you don't, you'll feel like you're continually burning the midnight oil with nothing at the finish line.
100%. In the sense of gamifying the journey and protecting your environment, both of these, what I wanted to mention here, kind of in the last segment and this one is that, like, look, I'm a huge sports fan. I love the Eagles. I love the Sixers. Like I coach basketball, but I think what sometimes happens, especially with dudes, is that they let like that aspect of their life and like rooting for a sports team, like overtake their mind and their life. And like we were talking about gamifying it, but I think like gamifying your own journey versus gamifying the sports teams that you love. At a certain point, you have to think like, if I'm spending all day talking about the sports team, or I'm spending all day talking about the Eagles, which by the way, go Birds, I fucking love the Eagles, but I'm saying you have to to remove yourself a little bit from that. And that's part of that protecting your environment. It's like, be a fan, like go to games, like support. But like sometimes I see some of my friends just like, that's the only thing they focus on and talk about. And like, you will see months, weeks, months, quarters, years go by without you making any progress in your life if the only thing that you're focused on is the local sports team. So like, again, I'm not the type of person, we've interviewed people, by the way, who are like, sports, that's a waste of time. Like that's the furthest thing from the truth. I think sports is the most important thing for our youth. And I love the actual team camaraderie and what it brings to life and business and everything. But I'm saying that you need to protect that environment as well and be like, hey, I'm focused on this. I might miss a game here, or I might miss that. And I think, we're both sports fans, right? I'll let you chime in, but that is one of the things I really think people don't talk about it enough,
Dude, I couldn't agree more with that. It's very well said. And I think people don't think about this often enough. The next thing I want to get into is setting a rich reason or a why behind everything that you do. If you are not living for some purpose or doing something and you don't have anything burning inside of you to chase, then it's not going to get done. So it's never just about the money. To some people, you tie your wealth to a deeper goal, like retiring your parents, spending more time with your kids, or freedom to create and live life on your own terms. What is your ultimate why? Take time to think about that and envision your life in the next 5-10 years. What do you want your life to be? Set a vision casting goal for yourself. Like, hey, this is where I want to be in 5-10 years. But then also, what's the why that drives me to do that? A lot of times it's living for other people outside of yourself. It holds you accountable, right? Like any action I take, Corey's impacted by it. I'm also living for my younger brothers, showcasing them how we can do things on a deeper level. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about. So outside of finding your why, right, and having that burning desire to do something for something bigger than yourself, or maybe it is for yourself, right? You could be your own why and wanting to fulfill your purpose in life and soul search that way. I also want to talk about making asymmetric bets, i.e. betting on yourself and investing in yourself. People do not do this often enough. And this is what really allowed Corey and I to get to the next level. We were investing in our stock accounts, we were investing in real estate, we were investing in crypto, all these things. But what we realized was we are not getting to the level we need to be because we're not fully surrounding ourselves with the right people in every aspect that we need to. And so what we did was we started, after all these interviews, people were like, well, do you guys have a coach? Do you have some like a mastermind group that you're in? And we're like, what are those? Like we know what a coach is, but we didn't know what a mastermind group was. So what we did was we found people in different lanes that we were looking to get into, i.e. One of the biggest masterminds that we joined was about content creation and how to become the best faces that we possibly can on Instagram, social media, et cetera, right? It's been a heavy clip to be in there, but it allowed us to grow our followers, grow our reach, build a business off of that. And so what I want to say is like, if you want to buy your first or next rental property, right? Get into a room of people that are buying a first or next rental property this year. And just small little plug here. The boys, we started one, it's called the Wealth Juice Inner Circle. And really what we did was we put together a collection of all of the SOPs and the information that we learned over the last 6 years to scale from 0 units to 80 units. And we built it into a program on school where we teach people and we hold hands to get to your first rental property in the next 6 months. And meaning like, you're not just getting thrown into a course. It is Corey and I meeting on a weekly basis with you. And there's a bunch of other investors in there because we wanted to build a safe place that we wish we had back in the day where we're like, okay, we want to be invested in real estate, but how do we ask questions? How do we make sure this is the right deal? How do we analyze deals? How do we build out our team? And so, after writing down all of our ways of doing things throughout dozens of deals, we basically just decided to put it into a program. And there we were getting questions from friends, family, other people on Instagram. How do I do this? So for prime example, we built the community. So we have one of those. If you guys are interested, feel free to DM us. But we've also invested well over $100,000 into other programs that Corey and I sit in to get coached in every aspect of our lives. So don't forget to take asymmetric bets and invest in yourself. There's ways to deploy your cash, not just into the stock market and real estate. How can you become better as a person or in a skill set that you are looking to get to the next level in?
So those are 14 to 15. We might have skipped the actual numbers there, but those are 14 to 15 millionaire habits that will pretty much guarantee that you become a millionaire. And if you want to get the next phase of this or the next level, reach out to Ryan and I on Instagram at WealthJuice Official, and we can help you potentially build out a plan to get you there through real estate investing. But those habits are the things that Ryan and I implemented into our journey that have helped us go from 0 to 80 units and become millionaires and do all the things that we want to do, and then just helped us get to the next level where we have the next mountain that we have to climb. But those are things that have really helped us, and I know they're going to help you too.